Hello, that's not me, obviously. I changed my profile picture many times. The app didn't like me, so what are you going to do? I'm here today joined with Jose, Javier, JJ as well. I'm JJ. Then Rafa, Fraga from the Cardano Foundation, Jose representing Ada Solar, and a fantastic community member, community leader here in Argentina. So I'm from the United States. Rafa is from Brazil, and we have Jose from the Argentine community. So very international, very global community. And we're very excited to be here at La BitConf, so thank you for having us. And thank you to Rodolfo for the invitation to speak. Today we're talking a little bit about Cardano, the foundation, the infrastructure, where we're starting right now, and where we're going. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the future side of things, and my friends here are going to talk a little bit about the foundation with which we're beginning, which is the Cardano community, the Cardano infrastructure, and everything that we've built to date. And to start this a little bit, I want to talk a little bit about the infrastructure that's available to us and why it's built the way that it's built. And we're taking a couple of cues here from our, my founder at Input Output Global, which is our firm, Charles Hoskinson, who's delivered this speech many different ways, which is the generations of blockchain and why Cardano is the way that it is. So thinking about this, we all love Bitcoin. I think this is a big Bitcoin conference. We love this. The reason that Bitcoin was built the way that it was to push value from one side to the other without the need for an intermediary. And this is very powerful. But it's limited. It's good to start with a very good foundation and to think about where you can go from there. So pushing value from one party to another using a trustless medium, eventually those tokens get value because of their nature, because you can send it trustlessly from one party to another. And we could talk a little bit, and guys, feel free to jump in as you see fit too. But the idea is, since 2009, Bitcoin has trustlessly moved value from one party to another without the need for an intermediary. And it came out of a different ethic, which is CryptoPunk ethic. So the idea that you could actually change the world, that technology could improve the way that we work with one another. And it's pretty excellent. This is the realization of a vision of many people. So
I want to add that today we have the amazing, incredible visit from Phil Zimmermann, one of the originals gangsters, one of the last we already have. So anybody that had the opportunity to be with him feel very fortunate about that. I wasn't, but he's a real legend. He was the creator of PGP, Pretty Good Privacy, the origin, probably one of the origins behind Bitcoin. And well, just I want to add that to the original cyberpunk movement from the 80s.
Please, yes. And so this is where we started, and obviously you start with limited expressiveness, and then you expand from there. So one of the next things to come out, Ethereum, which Charles was involved in initially as a CEO, put smart contracts on the chain. So there's some aspect of programmability. We like to think of it as the moment at which JavaScript came to the world of the web, and you got really rich experiences in the web browsing experience. So moving on, there's some issues with this though, because how Ethereum is set up is that everybody has an account. So there's a global ledger for everybody, and this is very different from how Bitcoin transferred value. Bitcoin, it's a bit like I give somebody a bunch of change, and those coins stay in that register in that exact form. Those stay in that wallet address as unspent transaction outputs. But when you try to do something that's based in just purely accounts, you have to keep track of everybody's balance all the time in one global state. And that gets a little bit tough. The ledger becomes massive. It's a little bit difficult. So you run into some scalability issues. And this is why we see the rise of Ethereum L2s and chains that are not paying as much inflation back to the foundation of Ethereum now. So thinking about this a little bit, Cardano, and this is where we're going to bring these guys in the mix because they're part of this Cardano project as well. Cardano is what we call a third generation blockchain. So you start with a couple things, a couple new values here. You had secure value transfer, then you get smart contracts and programmability. And then with the third generation, you start to add in things like interoperability with other chains and with the legacy web world. You add in scalability, so things are cheaper, better, faster. And then you also add in community governance. And this is where all three of us play a role in governance over the Cardano blockchain, and you guys can too. Now, there's a members-based organization now called Intersect, and I highly recommend that you guys check it out. It's called Intersect MBO, and anybody can participate. You can just join and check it out as an observer. You can join a committee. You can start to participate with your expertise and contribute to the actual governance of how Cardano operates.
And
now,
by the
please,
way,
please.
we are going to have the Constitutional Convention this year, December 2 will start. Everyone is invited to participate to the Cardano Tech Week that will start the 29 this month and end the December 2nd. Kick launching the governance week when we are going to define the constitutional settlement for Cardano and be aware in the social networks. If you want to follow us and subscribe to the Cardano Tech Week, everyone is invited. You can follow us at Cardano Solar and join us to the party.
Thank you so much. And you might ask yourself, why do you need a constitution? You guys are talking about a blockchain, right? Not a country. Why do you need a constitution? Well, if a blockchain is treated like a public resource and we're all using this in the same way, then you need to make sure that certain rights are protected for all the people that want to use it. So if I get in charge, or if I'm suddenly in charge of one of the committees on Intersect, as we said, the members-based organization, if I've got some problem with Arturo over here, I'm not going to censor his transactions. I'm not going to prevent his applications from working just because I'm in charge, because we have certain rights that are codified and captured in a document like a constitution, where we say, you can do this, you can't do that, right? The way that we arrived at this community governance idea, and this is the slide, governance, comunidad, it's real governance, is that we went around the world. We set up 63 different workshops in 50 different countries, and we talked to the people that are already using Cardano. And we said, what do you want to see captured in a document? What rights and privileges do you, as a community member, think are important in a document that actually governs how Cardano is going to work for the future? We may revisit this every 10 years. We'll work with the Cardano Foundation. Everybody's going to be gathered here in Argentina. But the idea is that at its very core, the parameters, the treasury movements, a vote of no confidence to suspend the entire governance system, all of that is captured in a community-led system. And we're very excited to be working with people. Because in actuality, our company is Input-Output Global. I work as Chief of Staff for Charles Hoskinson, the CEO. But what's interesting is we do core research and development, but we work with a variety of different firms that actually contribute to how Cardano is developed. We are one firm among many now working on that project. Other people play a big part in how the ecosystem is governed. The Cardano Foundation plays a big role, and I would love to have Rafa speak a little bit about the kind of work that the foundation is doing to actually open up governance to the entire community.
Sure, thank you very much, JJ, and I would say it's good evening right now, right? So, I mean, the Cardano Foundation has been playing, I would say, a key role alongside of Emorgo and IOG, the three founded entities of Cardano. But right now, we are living in a very interesting moment because we are not the three entities founded anymore. So right now, it's everything related to the community. Regarding the job of the Cardano Foundation and what we are proactively working here in Latam and not only here worldwide, I would say that it's a pleasure to us to keep working with people that it's very keen to develop, to build, and to make Cardano, I would say, a blockchain not only for third generation, but also fourth generation when it comes with Midnight as well. It's interesting to see that not here only in Argentina, but the whole Latin America, but I want to say especially to Argentina, the community here is so strong that for us, people like Jose, Quechua, Arturo, and many others here, Augustine as well, you guys are really the engine that kind of empower us to really push Cardano here. So as a business development lead in Latin America, I think sometimes my job is kind of easy because I have a lot of people supporting ourselves. JJ can say the same. So from a perspective of projects here, I believe that in less than a year we could lead more than 4 or 5 like key projects such as Petrobras, UTN, collaboration with IOG and UBA for the Cardano Constitutional Convention as well. We just signed 2 weeks ago, agreement with the OAE, the Organization of Ibero-American States, that will lead us to open the borders for all countries, 23 members plus Portugal, Spain and Andorra and Europe to use Cardano. And we are going for that. We are going for that because we have not only the foundation, IoT, or also Emurgo pushing this endeavor, but we have the builders, we have the SPOs, and we have the community. So from Cardano Foundation, and as a representative of the Cardano Foundation here, we just want to say, like, let's keep the good job. I mean, like, we are doing great. We are doing great here right now, and this is not, apologies about the wording, not bullshit. I think Cardano, at the genesis, was created to be a different blockchain. A blockchain that can incorporate the corporation, blockchain that can incorporate states, a blockchain that can incorporate nation states, and why not like the retail as well. So this is the genesis of Cardano. And see the evolution, as my friend JJ was presenting here, is very grateful for us. Because in a very short period of time, less than 8 years, we could achieve a lot. But we could not achieve without you. You are the key piece of this engine. And for us, I would say, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be here in LabitConf to presenting, and it's a pleasure to keep building with your support. This is Cardano. This is what we are made to do. So I would say, thank you very much, only for the Cardano Foundation and myself. And yeah, I would pass through my friend here, Jose.
The doors are wide open, right? So we appreciate. The confusing thing is when we're talking with each other, this is Jose Javier. I'm Jeffrey Jr. It's a little bit better for Brazil. But there's 2 JJs, so it's a problem. So I'm going to say the other JJ. Jota, en español. Sí, pero, can you share a little bit? Because I think what's interesting here is there's different ways of participating in Cardano. And obviously, everybody's welcome to join as an Intersect member. That's Intersect MBO. But Jose Javier actually works with both of our organizations in a specific way. So Jose Javier is a Cardano ambassador with the foundation, but he also runs the technology that my firm, Input Output, worked on, which is the stake pool. It's the foundation of consensus on Cardano. So thousands of different people run stake pool, which is kind of technology, a bit like validators in other systems. So the stake pools process the transactions, and they get paid from the protocol for doing that work, a bit like you get paid for doing Bitcoin mining or validations on other systems. So Jose Javier, Jota, can you describe your experience a little bit? Because who gave you permission
Absolutely.
to be an SPO? Who said you can do it?
I will try to do it in Spanish, since
Sí, por favor.
Probably everyone is going to understand better what I want to transmit. Bueno, acá tenemos a mi amigo Mariano, con quien compartimos desde hace muchos años, antes de que se pudiera crear el nodo de Cardano y participar, grupos afines de blockchain. Y desde ese momento que venimos investigando, en su momento otras blockchains, y cuando descubrimos la forma en que Cardano estaba construida con estos más de 230 papers científicos académicos, y conociendo la complejidad y el desafío tecnológico que es crear una blockchain global que trabaje de manera coordinada y que realmente pueda cumplir el objetivo que se propusieron los creadores, sabíamos que no era un desafío fácil y que si había una forma de lograrlo era a través de un proceso serio. Cuando descubrimos esto dijimos, bueno, ¿de qué manera podemos participar nosotros desde Argentina? Y fue así que decidimos construir el primer nodo físico de Cardano en Latinoamérica. Se llama One número 1, lo pueden buscar. Con nuestro equipo, con Quechua, tenemos gente en Taiwán, gente en Australia que colabora con nosotros. Y técnicamente fue un desafío porque decidimos armarlo físico aquí en Buenos Aires, que no fuera en cloud. Bueno, reunimos las partes, usamos el conocimiento y la experiencia de más de 20 años trabajando en telecomunicaciones y IT. Y bueno, para nuestra sorpresa, recibimos el apoyo de Cardano Foundation, que nos delegó en su momento 14 millones de ADA, que en ese momento hoy sigue siendo un monto muy grande de dinero. Increíblemente alcanzamos la posición 3 desde aquí, desde Buenos Aires, con infraestructura física, entre los más de 3.000 spools que hay en el planeta, compitiendo si se quiere, porque no es una competencia real, pero participando de una manera muy fuerte, alcanzando la posición 3 a nivel global contra otros pools en Frankfurt, en París, en Estados Unidos. Así que la realidad es que todos pueden participar y ahora se abre la posibilidad de que participen, en breve se va a abrir para Midnight, con lo cual están todos invitados a sumarse a participar de manera abierta. Como decía JJ, es permissionless, no tienen que pedirle permiso a nadie, solo creer que lo pueden hacer. Y créannos que hay respaldo. Nosotros recibimos ayuda de Cardano Foundation y de IOG de manera increíble, o sea que no están solos y cuentan también con la comunidad argentina que, como decía Rafa, es muy entusiasta. Tenemos de los 17 stake pool operators que hay en Latinoamérica, 15 ya estamos unidos en una comunidad que están invitados también a participar, se llama Cardano Confederation. Todos ahí se matan por ver quién puede ayudar más, así que están súper invitados a participar. Pueden entrar en la página web que es cardanoconfederation.org. Así que bueno, le cedo la palabra a...
Perfecto. Gracias, señor.
Muchas gracias.
So one of the interesting things here is that Ada Solar is one of a few thousand stake pools that are actively validating transactions and are printing blocks because we use a proof of stake style consensus mechanism called Ouroboros, which has been continuously upgraded over time. Does anybody know, but by a show of hands, how many pools are validating Ethereum transactions, or how many blocks or how many nodes are actually validating Bitcoin transactions? It's not as many as you might think. Solana and some of these other chains, it's a little bit worse. I love Solana. It's great for certain things, but you have to think about decentralization does not have a very good definition right now, because you can be decentralized and lots of people could have wallets and you can access that from wherever, but it takes a community of people like Jose Javier that actually are running infrastructure, physical infrastructure, to create a decentralized network that has validators, what we call stake pools, around the entire world. So it's a good foundation. And the reason that I'm really thinking about this is because the title of our talk is Midnight, which is something that takes great advantage of that foundation of stake pools, because what we're building is another layer that services Cardano. So if you really want to dig into what Cardano is, there's a great paper that my boss wrote called Why Cardano. It's actually on the Cardano.org website. It's on the foundation website. But you can take a look at that because it talks about this Cardano core, which is what I would describe as an L1 for us, the Cardano L1 as it exists today. But it also describes these layers that could provide additional services to the applications and the users of the core layer. So Midnight is one of these first kind of service layers, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But what it does is it actually builds on the strong decentralized foundation, the constant uptime, the geographic diversity that already exists in Cardano to deliver ZK power to various applications. So we'll continue with our slides here. So the Cardano Foundation is leading the way on a lot of this, and I think this would have been maybe better served when Rafa's talking about the foundation and what it's doing. But this is really the idea here, is that they're promoting great applications and trying to help build and make it easier to build a company on the blockchain. So Rafa, I don't know if you have anything to add on this stage, but...
Yeah, I would say, like, from the point of view of the foundation, we want to really make the environment to build and to develop on Cardano easy as possible, and try to onboard like as many enterprises as possible as well. I think like the work that we are doing, I would say like proactively doing with like state nations, also like Forbes 500 companies, such as example, it's a great way to demonstrate that the usage of blockchain, it's something that for enterprise sometimes could be like a little bit like tricky, a little bit complex, but we are trying to settle down this understanding, bringing of course education. We have like a free course called Cardano Academy that anyone can enroll, anyone can get certified by the end of only 16 hours, and you can call yourself a blockchain expert. I don't agree with that, but you can call it.
And that course is offered at what? You're doing this with Petrobras, right?
Exactly. So Petrobras has 40,000 employees right now being onboarded on Cardano. We rolled an experiment 2 weeks ago in the Petrobras Span Lab. There was an annual event with executives of the company, and we used a proof of attendance. It was the first time that an enterprise was using Cardano for on-chain transactions. So we could register 185 people in a seamless approach only NFC and your cell phone. You touch a 3D printed tank, oil tank, and you can register yourself and receive a certificate of attendance in your email.
And I know that you're also working on an agreement, or you've established an agreement with the province of Entre Rios here in
That's
Argentina.
correct, exactly. So for Entre Rios, we are entering in a full on board of the province. So Entre Rios is the third largest province here in Argentina. We entered an agreement in August this year with the governor, Rogelio Frigerio. And the aim is to really onboard the whole government from an administration perspective, going through the citizens as well. The aim is, of course, in the future when we launch the wallet, to onboard the citizens to have like their personal wallet, a sovereign identity wallet, using Cardano to store certifications of education, healthcare certifications, and so on and so forth. So this is a unique opportunity for governments to use Cardano, and we are aiming to go for this approach by 2025, when we expect also to have a Midnight as a layer to operate when it comes to the privacy.
Absolutely. So one interesting thing here is that Rafa represents this core of Cardano, which has to do with the community and people building apps, and they're supporting all sorts of different ventures. We at Input Output did the core research and development. We did, as Jose Javier said, many different academic papers ranging from cryptography to game theory to economics. We actually signed an agreement with the University of Buenos Aires here to talk about blockchain and the law as well. While we're setting up the Constitutional Convention with the Derecho de Ley, we're also going to start to think about how we can collaborate in an academic way as well. We have a huge network of academic partners that we've published with. And for a long time, people said, oh, they're just an academic project. It's a bit like how Haskell was. They're using an academic language. They're just writing papers. It's just a science project. But now it's been functioning for over 7 years without ever stopping. In that time, Google has stopped working from time to time. I don't know if anybody's ever tried to use Trello or Amazon on a day when, Trello or Salesforce on a day when Amazon Web Services isn't working, but it's happened many times. AWS goes down. We've never gone down. Blocks might slow down a little bit, but 7 years of constant uptime is a great foundation, and it's because of people like Jose Javier that operate those stake pools. But moving forward, we're now a bit more like a customer and a bit more like a community member, because we've done the original roadmap of Cardano at this point, which was from 2015 until 2024. And that's why the Constitution is such a big deal for us here in Buenos Aires in December. It's because it's kind of the capstone of an original vision that was meant to last 5 years, and it went for 9 years, if you can imagine that. So moving forward, what we're working on, what Input Output is working on, this firm that did kind of this moon landing, like they did this great thing where now we've got a real decentralized thing that can't be censored and is decentralized all around the world. Our next bet is to build something on top of that. Use that as a great foundation and keep going. So if you're interested in learning more about what Midnight is, I'm not the expert. I am working on Input Output. I'm working with Charles every single day. There's a dedicated team of people and a Discord server. This is going to be the best place for you guys to learn. We've already got a ton of different companies here in Argentina that are thinking about working on Midnight, and I'm going to go into the technical details just a little bit. But that's firms like Globant and Eric's are thinking about it, and TX Pipe, and some amazing, amazing cryptography and core research and development firms are starting to think about this. So moving on here. Midnight is, as I said, one of these service layers as originally envisioned in Y Cardano. And the idea is that not all information on a blockchain, all information right now is public, but maybe not all information on the blockchain should be public. Makes it kind of hard. I don't know if anybody's ever used, so in our world, there's a system called the ADA handle, which is a bit like the domain name system or like a .eth address. And I had a handle that identified myself and doxed my activity on chain, and someone said, hey, why are you trading all that stuff? What are you doing? Why are you day trading? I said, oh, that doesn't feel good.
You're very courage, huh?
Yeah, it was very, very brazen. No, but the idea is that very suddenly I was reminded of the fact that everything you do on a blockchain is public. And there's no way around that right now. So what we think of with Midnight, which is pretty excellent, is that you can have some data on chain that's private, some data on chain that's public. So as we think about this, the story and the development of all this blockchain history, you start with value transfer with Bitcoin, you get to programmability with Ethereum, And in the third generation with Cardano and Avalanche and Polkadot and all these things, you get great scalability, you get great interoperability, and you get great governance. So with a project like Midnight, which we call like a fourth generation chain, you're talking about two things in particular. You're talking about adding in identity, and you're talking about adding in privacy. Because one without the other doesn't really work. And what's crazy is that if you want to be able to trade things like real-world assets, if you want to be able to trade securities, if you want to be able to trade anything of significant value that requires KYC or AML, if you want to really bring business to a blockchain, you have to have some notion of identity, and some of that information needs to remain private, even though it's selectively disclosed to people like regulators and auditors and people like that. And this is our answer to that. And so what we're going to do, I'm going to talk a little bit about this. I want to go through a couple diagrams and show you guys, but this all comes from the Midnight team itself. Input-output is now more of a venture studio, and there are experts that are ready, like I said, in that Discord server that are going to get you all the answers that you need, and it's a great place to connect. So, multi-resource consensus is one of the big ideas here, too, in the future, is that if you can actually have a chain that services Cardano at the start, like I said, you got this core, you got a service layer, you can eventually service other chains as well. And the value of that is, by printing the blocks, the value goes back to Cardano and to those stake pool validators. But in the future, you could come up with some mechanism that actually pays people on other chains for validating transactions as well. And this makes Midnight super resilient. You take consensus, and you've got something like proof of work, proof of storage, proof of stake, proof of elapsed time. Any of those consensus mechanisms, you virtualize them, and then you say, all right, everybody's participating with this virtualized resource. It's beautiful paper. It's one of those papers that we're talking about, one of the 200 papers. But it's worth looking at because I think in the future, and this is why we say this is a fourth generation thing, there's going to be a lot you're going to hear about multi-resource consensus. You won't have to pick between proof of work or proof of stake. You could use both. Imagine if you have some hardware acceleration, you have it in your pocket, you can just have a piece of hardware that allows you to participate in consensus. Or you have a trusted execution environment, and you've got secure hardware, and you know that your proof of elapsed time is going to actually be helpful for establishing consensus for a network. Both of those things are going to be able to be possible here in the near future. So we call that Minotaur, you know, like the half bull, half man, kind of put the different things together.
This is the beauty of interoperability, right, JJ? I mean, I was in Dubai 4 days ago.
Yeah.
And then I think like one of the most topics was like how blockchain should be interoperable like in the future. We're just partnering up right now through Emurgo, one of the founder entities, with Bitcoin OS. And Bitcoin OS right now is bridging Cardano with Bitcoin. So you can transact, you can create and run smart contracts on Bitcoin using Cardano. This is unique. There is no blockchain in the world with the same approach right now. So as JJ said, being a partner chain and integrate your project with Cardano right now is a reality. So Midnight's doing that. Bitcoin OS is doing that through Bitcoin. Okay, we are in an event of Bitcoin right now, so this is like I would say like it's a pleasure for us, you know, this connectivity. And this is the future of, you know, not only Cardano, I would say the future of blockchain. We should to think about interoperable solutions, because when you, I would say when you buy a car, you don't need to choose like which kind of like fuel, your gasoline, you know, you're using, or diesel. You just like pump that and that's it, you know. With blockchain should be the same. So interoperability should be like a core for any kind of blockchains, and Cardano is doing the great, I would say, when it comes to this approach.
Absolutely. And this is actually a really interesting note, what Rafa is saying. Cardano in the very near future, including some components with Midnight here, we may become the smart contracts layer for Bitcoin in a secure way. So just keep that in mind. Wrapped Bitcoin on Ether right now is worth about $6 billion or so. I'm just saying, it's a big opportunity if Bitcoin OS and their Grail bridge works as described. I have faith that it does. I'm very excited about this. But that is a very big moment for the Cardano ecosystem. And it's going to fuel projects just like this, because that kind of volume coming in is going to be great for all the projects that are already building in a secure way. The reason that that works is that Cardano is UTXO based just like Bitcoin. It doesn't have that global state like Ethereum, so it's a little bit different. And yeah, so moving on just a little bit with Bitcoin here, or excuse me, Bitcoin, Midnight, excuse me. The idea here, and I'm going to go through these a little bit quicker, is that you can also work with regulators to give them the information that they need, because you're allowed to selectively pick what information on-chain is private and what's public. these are real-world applications. I think that one of these protocols is going to take a lot of volume of the real-world assets. And there's going to be one standard, one technology probably, that really does a great job with this. And I know that, I mean, I was wondering if we were going to fill up 30 minutes, but we're already at time, or we're getting very close here. So I just want to get a little bit more out here. The scalability of what we're looking at here is pretty incredible. So there's so many different things that we could talk about with respect to Midnight. The zero knowledge technology is second to none. We're not doing recursion with the functions themselves. We're just doing recursion with variables, it's my understanding. So it's passing a little bit less information to the main chain when you're ready to go here. So I think we're barely getting into the diagrams here, but this is just a teaser. You got to catch a real Midnight workshop. This is just an overview, and I had to get my Cardano guys involved here as well. I'm more of the Midnight side. Data goes from a user to a company here. In a blockchain world, as I've said, you've got some blocks and you've got some metadata, but this is readable to all, and anybody can view your metadata. And what we imagine with Midnight, and this is where we'll end, is a world where some of that data is shielded and some of that is unshielded. And I think this is going to be the new paradigm. And if you're going to put a bunch of real-world asset on chain, because you're talking about a market cap of probably something like $100 trillion. Don't quote me on that, but you're talking about a huge amount of value that we're not even close to touching on the blockchain world because it's not compliant. We don't know how to move it. We don't have a notion of identity baked in. We don't have a notion of privacy baked in. A technology like this could see tens of trillions of dollars come on chain for the first time. And with a foundation like the Cardano Foundation and the infrastructure that we have in the SPOs, I think it's going to be on Midnight. So thank you very much for the time. Thank you to Rodolfo again for having us, and thank you guys for listening. Cheers.